First discussion. Facebook Incorporated services went offline for as much as 6 hours Monday in an extended outage that disrupted access for users and businesses around the world and left the tech company swinging for a solution. According to NetBlocks, which tracks internet outages and their impact, the outage had already cost the global economy at about $160 million per hour, leading to a slowdown of 5.5% of Facebook stock as Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook's CEO, lost nearly $7 billion during the 7 hours the outage lasted. In less than 24 hours after networking platforms became functional, the company apologized for the outage, which affected its core platforms and apps, including WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook Messenger, attributing the problem to network issues. It will interest you to know that Facebook owns apps reported outages in March 2021 and July 2020, but both were resolved within an hour. Well, joining me to make more sense of this and, of course, to give insights is a tech and a startup coach, Mr. Idowu Akinde. Mr. Idowu Akinde, good afternoon, and it's really good to see you.
Hi, Tolu. Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here always.
Yes, after the incident, the unfortunate, well, if I'm allowed to use that word, Facebook came out to say it was an internal technical issue. Now, they've had this kind of issues before now, but in 1 hour, in a few minutes, it was resolved. Why do you think this was a little bit complicated? I was confused at first, I must admit, when it started. I thought it was network issues. We all were scrambling to get network. But at the end of the day, we saw that it was a general issue. What do you think would have led to this?
Well, thank you for the way you put that reaction, because you don't have a tech background, you described it like a normal user. So you said you were confused at first because you were thinking about Facebook from the perspective of a user, usage, a non-techie, non-geeky user. I myself at first thought that it was a temporary downtime on my mobile internet service, right? But then I went to my browser, checked for something, and saw that it was browsing. I went back to WhatsApp, so that it wasn't going, and then I thought, looks like there's something wrong here. Of course, it could also have been, any of those points along the value chain. But eventually, we got a statement. I actually saw it on the TV. I saw it on CNN, and that was when I, confirmed to the people around me that, hey, this outage is global. And then, I observed that the last update on my phone was 4:38, so PM West African time, so that's just about 4:40. And then I measured, I kept on monitoring. I was awake till about 11:30, 11:40 PM. That's about 7 hours. I think that's the 7 hours that has been reported all over the internet. That was the official downtime. That's the user experience. In terms of the tech, right, behind the outage, there are a lot of lessons from process reliability to cybersecurity to something called defensive programming, which is preparing for unforeseen circumstances like this and making sure that people's data are not lost when stuff like this happens. But just on the surface, we're happy that it's back. I also think that Facebook did a good job with that official statement. I read the official statement. I think it was a good media / user management speech.
Talking about management, about 3.5 billion users, Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, and all of that. So you think this was properly managed? And on the other side, why is it that when things like this happen, immediately it begins to affect the shares of the affected firm or company?
Well, two things. The first thing is the degree to which tech has integrated into our daily lives, okay? And the second thing is, as you said, impact on the stock market. So the first thing is what we've just seen, right, is evidence that we are in such, the whole of humanity, the whole of the planet is in such a quote unquote advanced stage of technological advancement that that technology is like a utility. So what it means is that Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram have become more like utilities, especially WhatsApp. What it means is that because it's free and it's so pervasive, 3.5 billion people out of maybe 7 point something billion people, of course, these are the people, near the top of the pyramid, all use it. And it's so ingrained into our psychologies that none of us could suspect that Facebook could be down the moment we started to experience that, send a message and it doesn't deliver. We all thought it was our local networks or our local ISPs and so on and so forth. That shows you the degree to which it has eaten into our daily lives and by extension, our psychology. We now expect Facebook to work and be available, and WhatsApp and Instagram by extension, just the same way we expect power to run and we expect water to run from our taps, and we just expect to walk out and have air to breathe, right? That's just the way it is. It has become a part of our daily life. So that's the first thing. The second thing is about the relation, the connection with the stock market. I mean, this, at the end of the day, despite the utility that we, the public, get from these services, these are businesses, as you know, billion-dollar businesses, top companies, by any metric globally, revenue, product quality, that kind of stuff, user base. And so a lot of the valuation, a lot of the market cap, a lot of the market capitalization of these companies is driven by investor confidence. What is driving investor confidence? Customers' happiness and satisfaction levels. If this incident did not happen, right, and we just kept on using it the way we've been using it for the last, say, years, right, months and years, nothing would happen to the stock. Right? Nothing unexpected will happen to the stock. But this event is a signal or an indicator of perhaps the confidence level that investors have in companies based on how they are performing. For instance, I imagine that if you imagine that this thing had lasted only 1 hour, the economic fallout in terms of about 5.5% of the total worth would obviously not be up to that. Conversely, if it had stayed down for 14, 24 hours, what do you expect? It would have been more. So it's like a direct proportion. It's like a direct relationship between the degree of downtime and the economic value that is attached to that asset. I don't want to jump too much. I don't want to go into process quality, Six Sigma just yet, but slightly connected to that concept is the concept of Six Sigma. Now, I'm a Six Sigma expert, yellow belt certified. What we do is that, so I wouldn't claim expertise. What we do with Six Sigma is that we predict the probability that a certain process will fail. Let me give you another opportunity to talk about a few more angles before I come back to process quality and Six Sigma. Okay, process quality and all of that. You will explain that to us as a tech expert. Now, I was also thinking, I'm more of a business person. And of course, I'm always interested in Naira and Kobo. At this time, I think it's even dollars now. Let's look more on the dollars. But that's on a lighter note. Yeah. Now, a lot of money lost immediately because of this process. How would you quantify this? It's unquantifiable because some small businesses, Instagram, people sell and buy. Some don't even have physical shops anymore. They run their businesses. So for that 6 hours, some were expecting clients to seal some deals. Something must have actually happened. Then another side of it is immediately people started to switch. We saw people using Telegram and all of that. Like, I heard different names I never heard in my life. Tell us about that too. Must we always have a plan B for our social media networking? So the concept of a plan B is kind of self-defeating, if I may use that word. Well, yes, you should have a plan B. If you have an Instagram storefront, right? We call it a storefront. If you have an Instagram outlet for your customers to interact with, either buying, ordering, or other stuff, you also, from a business risk management point of view, want to set up alternative channels or avenues. You can have, WhatsApp banking, WhatsApp for business. You can have your own dedicated website so that everything is not clustered within the same Facebook corporation or conglomerate network. However, at the end of the day, if all you have are digital outlets, then technically speaking, you are still at risk because anything digital can go down. Today, or rather yesterday, it was Facebook's internal server configurations that experienced an error that caused this 7-hour downtime. Imagine if it was the server configurations for the entire internet. So everything would be down. So at the end of the day, technically speaking, everybody is at risk. Now, I should say that, to be fair, a high degree of attention and resources are given to ensure that these things do not go down, right? From almost military, security arrangements to high levels of process checks and process, routines and stuff like that, to even technology tools that are automated and are monitoring uptime, downtime at any point in time. However, at the end of the day, there's nothing that cannot go down, So I would say for all businesses that have these digital assets, digital storefronts, yes, do have your backup, but remember that at the end of the day, it may happen once in 10 years, but if it does happen, hey, it has happened because, hey, that's just the nature of technology, right?
So how do we prevent or reduce incidents like this one? Like you said, it could always happen. What more can we do? And tell us a little bit about security all across all social media networks. How do you think companies or firms, how do you think they are faring with regards to securing our data and our information?
Okay, so while talking about how to prevent this, let me quickly segue just a little bit back into the process reliability concept or conversation that I started earlier. So imagine that you got the concession, right? Imagine that you are the managing director of Muritala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, and you have the responsibility to ensure that accidents do not occur on your runways, right, in that airport, international airport. Now, people can come up with all sorts of theories, all sorts of approaches, all sorts of fantastic ideas about how that can be achieved. But as MD, or as the person on whose table the buck stops, your primary responsibility and therefore your attention will be drawn to whatever it is that gives you confidence. Now, this kind of confidence, to instill or inspire this kind of confidence, some people came up with a framework called the Six Sigma framework. And in summary, okay, this is not a detailed technical discussion. In summary, the Six Sigma the Six Sigma paradigm says that for every 1 million flights, okay, which means 1 million takeoff attempts of an aeroplane, 6 sigma, or rather 1 sigma, means that you are allowed 250,000 failures. Okay? 3 sigma means that you are allowed 25,000 failures per million. 6 sigma means that you are allowed 12 takeoff failures per million takeoffs. In the context of this technology conversation now, what it means is that if you measure the number of minutes in a month, a year, and so on and so forth, you can predict if you introduce Six Sigma into that process and help the management of Facebook or anybody who owns the digital asset to appreciate that, hey, at what level of Sigma are you guys performing? Have you been experiencing network failures and other outages once every day? Once every day typically translates to about 1 or 2 Sigma. Okay. Now, in terms of uptime for digital services, the maximum number of minutes allowed is 3 minutes per month for technology services. So what this means is that despite this 7-hour outage that we had, and I don't think there's any consumer outage, right? User outage, for the public like us in the last 1 year. technically speaking, if you sum up 30 days in a month by 12 months in a year, technically speaking, 7 hours is still not up to 3 seconds per month, or, as I said, 3 minutes per month. So you see that in statistical figures, it's not that significant an event. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't take responsibility, or they haven't done, so well. But I'm talking from a purely process perspective. If you do the math, the downtime is so insignificant that, well, it could be better. You could reduce it. You could investigate what happened. But looking at the time between this one happening and when the last one happened, you can say that, hey, it's not that insignificant. The lesson, therefore, is to investigate it and find out, why did those network changes occur? Is there a process that makes sure that not just one person approves the network change? Do you need an approval of at least 5 people because of the size of an impact of a company like Facebook? Do you need to have 5 signatures that must sign off on every request to change a config? Because one person can make an honest mistake or can even have malicious intent, but it would take a lot more resources to get 5 people to make a mistake at the same time or have malicious intent at the same time and to cause this kind of outage for the company. I can't remember what the second part of your question was.
Interesting there, Mr. Akinde. Let's wrap up on this note. On the first, the president came out to say that the ban on Twitter will soon be lifted once all conditions are met. What are you thinking in regards to that?
So, to be honest with you, I don't want to sound apathetical, but I think that, hey, the sooner the better, because technically speaking, from an engagement point of view, I think the government has lost the public, right? So people are generally, if it comes back online today or it comes back online next week or it came back online on the 1st, I don't think that anybody kind of cares anymore, right? Because people have found workarounds, either using their VPNs or using some other alternative way of communicating, whether it's Facebook or some other social media network that they use. That's not to say that Twitter is not important. That's not to say that on the day it is restored, people will not use it. But from a communication/stakeholder management point of view, I don't think that we've done a good job. We've done it. There's no polite way to say it. In fact, I think we've done a very, very poor job, a very, very shoddy job. I don't think anybody's engaged, and even listening to that kind of talk right now. Okay, you release it when the conditions are signed. I think that's the natural reaction you're going to get from people.
I must thank you for your time. I've been speaking to a tech and startup coach, Mr. Idowu Akinde. Thank you for spending your time with us, making us understand what all of this means for us as Nigerians and, of course, even globally. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.